Gamers, welcome to the video. A new selection pack has been announced and today I'm gonna go over everything you need to know and whether or not you should spend your gems on the new selection pack. Now, as the reprints real quick, you can pull for them only if you're interested in the archetypes. Dragon Link is actually gonna be a little bit better now that Wyvern Burster is back. Yes, in the ban list they actually returned it. It's now limited to 1 again, which is way better, and the deck will see a little bit more play probably. So if you're interested, you can pull for the selection pack, but they're reprints. So let's talk about the new cards, which is the more exciting part, and arguably the best deck coming out is gonna be Lightsworn. In the TCG, it has been performing pretty well, all things considered. Also, there are two different versions of Lightsworn you could play. One is the pure one, and the other one is with tier limits, a 60 card build that you can just mill a bunch of cards to the graveyard with grass and stuff like that. Now, the 60 card pile I believe to be a little bit better since you can play tier cards, and as we saw, tier limit is still really broken, especially in the World Cup. We saw how dominant this deck can be, so definitely a good strategy to include Lightsworn in, but also as a pure deck, it is still really good. It focuses on summoning rank 4s, level 8, level 12 synchro plays. It's just exceptionally good at doing those things. You can definitely get a lot more bodies on the field to work with now. And the more interesting cards are, first of all, Dragon Link. This card allows you to special summon it if you have a Lightsworn monster in the graveyard, so this is an extra body. Also, with its special summon, you can send one Lightsworn card to the graveyard, which is really good. You can target whatever you want and just get an extra body on the field or an extra effect. And also, if this card sent to the graveyard, you can add one dragon with 3000 attack, 2600 defense, which is the least used effect. Technically, you could use it, but primarily you're gonna use the first two effects as an extender. Now, there's also another interesting card, and this is the Lightsworn Archfiend Waste. Waste again allows you to just start your plays really well. You can place one other Lightsworn card from your hand on top of the deck, special summon this card from your hand, then mill 2 to the graveyard, so you can then get something else from there and continue with your plays. If this card sent to the graveyard, you can target one Lightsworn in your graveyard and special summon it. So once the mills get going, you can definitely continue extending by dumping those cards into the graveyard and activating a bunch of different effects. Both of them are a 3s for the deck. And now the new synchro monster and the most interesting card is Minerva, the Atheon Lightsworn, and this card has a couple of really nice effects. First of all, Lightsworn monsters you control cannot be banished with card effects, which is a nice small protection effect. Also, the better effect is with this card, Synchro Summon, you can dump Lightsworn monsters equal to the materials used, so at least 2, which is really good, and you select them, okay? So you can definitely get a lot more special summons with those. You can go for 2 level 4s, then exceed summon or do whatever you want with them. It's pretty useful. Also, you can banish up to 4 Lightsworn monsters from the graveyard, send that many cards from the deck to the graveyard as well, and it's not during the end phase. You can use it immediately, so this will give you additional plays. Paired with tier limit, it can perform really well, or just playing a 40 card build, you will definitely mill a lot more Lightsworn cards in general, and you know how it goes. This deck will perform really well in my opinion. It could be a nice rogue deck, it could be a tier 3 deck if we're playing it with tier, because as we saw again, tier performed really well on the WCS, so probably it will be played a lot at a higher level. If you're going to pull on the pack, might as well get this deck. In my opinion, this is the best option and I really like this deck a lot. Now moving on, we have the Aroma support. Now the Aroma support, one thing I want to mention, you're not going to be playing a pure Aroma deck. You would much rather add a small Aroma engine in your plan deck that is a 60 card pile or whatever, playing the Rika cards, playing the Sun Avalon cards, playing a small Tyrian engine as well with the Lily Borea and the, of course, Regulus. And the Aroma cards pair really nicely with that, because Rosemary specifically, you're going to be playing one copy of it in the extra deck. First of all, when you special summon, you can add one Aroma card from your deck to your hand. Also, if you gain LP, you can special summon up to 3 Aroma monsters from your hand. It is exceptionally good in getting extra bodies on the field. And the third effect, contribute one monster this card points to, then target one card on the field and banish it, which is a nice removal effect. All of these effects are really nice, and with the planned deck, you can definitely do a lot of cool things with those. Now, you're not gonna always go for the 3 special summons from the hand, obviously, but just getting 1 to 2 extenders, getting a removal effect, getting a searcher is just really good, and I definitely have seen this card perform really well. Now, some of the main deck monsters that you're gonna see is gonna be, first of all, Rosalina. Rosalina, first of all, when you discard it, you can target one Aroma monster and you can gain LP, which is at the very least gonna give you some LP and trigger the effects of some of your cards. Now, also, when this card normal special summon, you can special summon one non-tuner Aroma monster from the deck. 2 planned monsters to work with is typically a great start, but this is not gonna be, again, as I said, a pure deck. It's gonna be a little bit more of a pile. Also, we're gonna talk about the Aroma blend, which is really good because it allows you to discard one and then search any of your wind cards. And for those of you who haven't played Aromas, the wind cards are actually the ones that give you the most amount of interruptions. I mean, not the most amount of, but the best interruptions, because they have some really strong effects. And typically you would play a combination between like 2 different winds to search off of the blend, maybe even more if you decide to do so. Also, you can manage this card from your graveyard and fusion summon into the new fusion monster Aroma Lilith Magnolia. When your LP is higher than your opponent's, planned monsters you control cannot be destroyed, which is a pretty good effect. It cannot be destroyed by card effects, which is a nice bonus. Also, you can pay 2000 LP, banish cards on the field equal to the number of win cards you have. So at the very least, you're gonna go for one, I guess. Maybe two if you're lucky and you have another one or whatever. Also, if you gain AOP except during the damage step, you can make all plant monsters gain that much attack, which is gonna be a nice way to finish your opponent. And as you can see, this deck has some really nice effects to support the plant archetypes, not specifically the Aroma deck, but more so the other ones as well. That is why it is so useful in a pile. That is why I'm telling you, this archetype will see play in a 60 card pile, but not specifically in a pure deck. Now let's talk about another nice small engine. We have the Ragnaraikas. Now, first of all, we're not gonna talk about the Link 5 because I'm gonna roast him a little bit later. Let's go over the actual good cards first. Now, first card to talk about is gonna be Evil Seed. Now, one thing I will mention, Ragnaraika is not an archetype you would actually play as a pure deck. You would much rather want to include it in other archetypes. Now, the cool benefit of that is that you can support insects, plants, and reptiles, which is really good. Supporting 3 different archetypes is definitely interesting. You can splash them in the Duel for reptiles, trap tricks for insects, and the 60 card plant pile can use some of the Ragnaraika cards as well. Now, the way you start your combos is by activating Evil Seed when you normal or special summon it. Then you're gonna search 2 cards, the Samurai Beetle and the Bloom. Then you're gonna banish the Samurai Beetle. Then with the Bloom, you're gonna return the Beetle and you're gonna link off 2 of your monsters into Skeletal Soldier. Then you're gonna bring one of them to the field. Then later on, you can link off in whatever you want. And then you can also bring back the Skeletal Soldier, because if this card is in your graveyard, you can target one insect, plant, or reptile monster you control, place it on the bottom of the deck, and if you do space summon this card, so again, you can just return a link to monster on the field. And overall, this is your way to get access to a couple of bodies to work with. Now, there's also another interesting way to do the place. Instead of going for Skeletal Soldier, you could go for Mantis Monk and search out the Hunting Dance, which then allows you to have a nice removal effect during your opponent's turn. But primarily, I've seen people use the Skeletal Soldier since it gives you more extenders in general. And now let's talk about real quick about the boss monster of the deck, the Stack Sovereign. This card is first of all Link 5, but it's not very good because the only effect that it actually has as an interruption is when your opponent space summons a monster, you can then destroy 2 monsters on the field, which is not very good. A Link 5 monster without a negation or any protection is just really not that good, and it's just a little weird to summon it. There's also 2 different Link monsters as well. Let me go over each of them real quick. The first card is gonna be the Chain Coils, and this card is a Link 4 summon that you can go for as well. If your opponent activates a monster effect, you can then activate the effect. Neither player can activate monster effects in the hand for the rest of the turn, which is, I guess, somewhat decent, but it's not that big of a deal. And also we have the Sinane Snapper, which is a back row removal. You can destroy up to 2 spells and trap cards on the field, which I guess it's cool as well as a back row removal. If the meta becomes really back row heavy, this could see a little bit of play. But again, as I said, none of these cards matter that much. You're more so interested in the extra bodies engine that you go for. You just space summon a bunch of extra monsters and you go from there. You don't need to go for the Link 5, Link 4. You can just facilitate other engines. It would be a lot better overall. But anyways, let's talk about the Ancient Gear support. There are a lot of cards coming out. I'm not gonna talk about each of them because the video is gonna get a little too long. But essentially, you get additional extenders, additional searchers for spells and trap cards, and also monsters. And overall, the deck's goal is to go second and break boards, and then OTK with big bad machines and fusion summon a bunch of great boss monsters. And the new support basically makes you able to play a pure version of the deck, something that we're currently not able to do since there are not that many good Ancient Gear cards. And the best version to play with and the most consistent one is the pure version as well. You could include other machine archetypes to try and enhance the deck a little bit, but overall the deck doesn't need any of that. And the primary way to win games is gonna be by fusion summoning the Gear Giant, because this is an OTK machine. Or you can go for also the Howitizer, which allows you to burn your opponent as well, which is pretty good. And these are gonna be your 2 different ways to finish off your opponent. It's a fun anime archetype and you can give it a try if you like it. Personally, I will try it out because it seems really fun. Now moving on, we have our favorite tier 15 deck finally receiving some support. Yay, the 2 people that want to play Genex are finally gonna be happy. We have the Arms of the Genex Return 0, the new boss monster. But first of all, let's talk about the good main deck monsters. First of all, real quick, we have the Turing. This card is basically a free special summon. So this card is kind of nice. It's okay. It's not that big of a deal, but it is a free special summon that you can use. Also, we have the Repair Genex Controller, which is your Link 1, and it's actually a pretty good card because it allows you to add 1 Genex card from the graveyard to the hand. Also, if a Genex monster is added to your hand, you can then normal summon 1 Genex monster, and from there it locks you to using only Genex tuners to synchro summon with, which is a weird way to restrict your plays, but it's not that big of a deal. Again, it's not gonna be incredibly good deck. There are 2 different monsters that you can facilitate the engine towards. One is gonna be the Arms of the Genex Return 0, which is a nice monster effect negation, but only if you have the same type monster in the graveyard, which I guess is not too bad. And also we have a good removal effect. You can target up to 6 of your Genex monsters, shuffle them into the deck, then you can destroy that many cards in the spell and trap card zone, which is, I guess, not bad. Also, they need to be Genex monsters with different archetype attributes, so this will make it a little more difficult. It's not a terrible monster, I guess, but it's nothing too incredible. Also, the main problem I have with this deck is the fact that you can only facilitate your engine towards summoning this or the Locomotion, which is the other decent synchro monster that allows you to steal an opponent's monster with the highest level though, so you don't really choose it, which is again a little annoying. It's not very cool, it's not very good in general. I don't think this deck is gonna be seeing any play. I could try to make it work maybe, but I don't know, dude. It's definitely not something I'm looking forward to. But that was it for the video, guys. I mean, if you enjoyed the video, first of all, give me a like, subscribe, because I will definitely appreciate it. It's gonna help my channel a lot. Also, whether or not you should pull for this pack, I would say you should pull for it, but only if you want the Lightsworn cards. Lightsworn is the best archetype and the one you should be focusing on. The other ones are not top tier and they're not gonna be performing as good as Lightsworn in my opinion, but still they're pretty fun, and I personally like the plant support as well. And I'm definitely gonna be showcasing all of those decks, so stay tuned for that as well. And you can check out more League of Master content in the channel, of course, if you're interested in that. Have a great day, and I'll see you in the next video, which is gonna be really soon.